Franklin, you good now?
I am now.
All right. Councilman Goodwin,
Don't hear no bunch of belching that stuff like that.
Councilman Miller, you good? Good.
You're a little bit late.
Councilman Lightfoot, you good?
I'm good.
Councilman Smith. The time is 7 PM and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. Let it be known that notice has been duly posted in accordance to Texas Government Code Section 551. And we have a quorum of all council members present with various staff and guests, and we welcome you to this city council meeting. Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Smith, would you lead us in the invocation in the pledges?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us as individuals and as a great community. As we come together this evening, we pray that you bless all of those participating, our family, our friends, co-workers, and those who are not able to be with us tonight. We ask that you provide us with your guidance and your wisdom as we conduct the business for this city. Help us in our deliberations that we might represent all members of the community fairly and make decisions that promote the common good. We pray that your love is shared and enjoyed by everyone during this celebratory holiday season. We hope that everyone has a safe and prosperous time, and that we can get together next time and be as joyful as this meeting. All things we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. So now's the time for citizens' comments. Citizens' comments can be brought by any citizen that wishes to speak in front of the council. If it is on a subject that is not on the agenda, we may not be able to speak to it, but we can sure direct other staff members to kind of get with you and address certain issues. So if anybody has not had an opportunity to sign in, I will still accept some while these others are speaking. So when you come, just realize that you're limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address and what you want to talk about. So Rob, you want to come up and start us off?
Sure. Thank you. Rob Shamel, 121 Fawn Ridge Drive, Waxahachie, Texas, but I've been annexed into Red Oak for I don't know how long, long time. Thank you for this opportunity. Look at my notes here. Thank you for this opportunity to voice a possible new direction and initiative for the city of Red Oak, and most importantly, its citizens. As a longtime member of the Red Oak Library Advisory Board, I, along with many others, have witnessed our library come a long way since its humble and tiny yet powerful beginnings. A lot of that has been with the support from both the city and from Library Systems and Services, LS&S, and many of the fine employees they have sent our way. It has recently come to the attention of the board that the contract renewal with LS&S is up in September of 2025. And that several aspects of this contract can be restricting. LS&S is a for-profit company, and a lot of national library programs can frown upon or even refuse benefits for our library based on that one fact. The board strongly believes that this Red Oak Library would be better suited by opting out of this next contract. The city has a solid foundation and understanding of the library, now and is more than capable of taking ownership of the library and operating in operation if it keeps the appropriate employees in place. Our library is continually striving for excellence, and we believe getting out from under this contract can only add to its growth and potential. We also understand that the city would have to make it known to LS&S 6 months prior to the contract expiration that it would like to end said contract. Thus, understandably, time is of the essence. Maybe this just puts the wheels in motion, but the library board, the Red Oak Friends of the Library, and our valued patrons are here to help and support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Jennifer Hilton.
Hello, City Council members. My name is Jennifer Hilton, and I live at 308 Bob White Drive in Red Oak, Texas. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you during this meeting. The concern I would like to bring to your attention involves the library. I recently became a library board advisor because of my belief that public libraries are a part of the heartbeat of the community. When I found out that we outsource our services to a third-party vendor for-profit company, I became curious. Being the avid learner that I am, I started researching other budgets and other libraries and their budgets. Then I compared my findings with the services offered through our current vendor. My findings brought me to the conclusion that using a third-party service for managing our library is limiting our library's future and, just as important, not as cost-effective as it once might have been. Our library is entering a new era and has the potential to impact the communities in ways we have not yet conceived for the same cost as we are currently spending in our long-term contract. I propose that we not sign another 5-year contract with our library vendor. Instead, we can pay the same amount or less, which is even better, to expand the library services the way the community decides. Thank you.
Julia, you want to come up?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate all the time and effort that y'all put into making our city great. We thank you for that. I don't know if I said my name yet. I'm Julia Easley. My address is 123 Shadow Ridge Lane in Red Oak. And I'm the vice president of the Red Oak Friends of the Library. And our Friends of the Library group has been organized for over 10 years now. And we're really thrilled that we've seen a lot of growth in our membership, and we're up to more than 60 members now. So I'm here forgive me, I'm old. Did I say I'm vice president? Okay. So I'm here representing the membership of the Friends of the Library group. And we also lend our support to the ideas that you've heard here of ending or evaluating the opportunity to end this contract. My understanding too is it's a 5-year contract. So if this really is a window of time to really evaluate and make a decision that'll affect the next 5 years going forward. We're so proud of our library for everything the city has put into it. It's phenomenal what this library is compared to where we were just, 18 months ago, recently, not long ago. What we believe that having local control is really important to the library. And we y'all forgive me for this, but it came into my head. So you remember that old commercial that was something like New York City? Y'all remember that? So, you know, for the Red Oak Library, for the decisions about our library, for our community to being made in New York, we really feel like it's really much more important for it to be here under local control. And we sure got proven leadership here in the community. So we know it'll work, we know it'll be better, and we thank you.
Ms. Bloat.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Belote. I live at 103 Crestwood Court. And when my husband Bill and I moved to Red Oak in 1983, our neighbors were Harris Brown, Pearl Jenkins, Joe and Eileen Beggs, and the Wolvers, Tall Cotton. I'm pretty sure we're still considered newcomers, actually. After retiring from a 45-year career teaching little kids, I knew I wanted to give back to the city that had given so much to my little family. Libraries have always been an integral part of my life, and I just spent 37 years teaching children to read. So I sought out a position on the Red Oak Library Advisory Board. As a member of the board, I kept hearing about LS&S. They talk about LS&S, and I was like, I don't know. So after asking many questions, I now understand that Library Systems and Services is a for-profit company. Our city pays to run our library. Now, I lived here when we didn't have a library. So it's a pretty big deal that somebody swooped in and helped us get that stack of books and make it into a library that we are so proud of and do, you know, we are all involved with. Okay, just as children grow up, our little city has as well. City workers now confidently take care of many of the services we pay LS&S to do. Now that our library has grown, we seem to have outgrown the parenting of LS&S. We are ready to better utilize the funds allocated to the library and fine-tune purchases and activities to our own to our own citizens' needs and preferences. Because LS&S is a for-profit company, our librarians are unable to take advantage of training services, grants, and other opportunities available to nonprofit libraries. That's really where it came to my attention. Our LS&S contract is up for renewal. We would like for you to thank LS&S for the great start that they gave us and for our city to take our little library under their own wing. So thank you for your time and consideration. Appreciate you.
Was there anybody else that wished to speak during open forum? Citizens' comments? Yeah, you can do it. Okay, either way. Okay. Mr. Hurst, we'll wait for your item for you to introduce yourself. Okay, so now it's time for consent agenda. Consent agenda. Excuse me, just a second. So thank you all for speaking. I think we heard you, and I think we understand. And I think that's some discussions that have to be made internally. And I think we'll look at it seriously. And to me, thanks. I didn't know that it comes up in September and that we have to do 6 months. So hopefully we can get all that ball rolling. So thank you all. Consent agenda are items that are considered routine in nature and can be acted upon in one motion. Any council member or city manager can ask that an item be pulled separately. There was some corrections that needed to be made on item 4, and so council, that's in front of you on a separate packet that was just specifically on wordage.
Yes, Mayor. It's item 4. So each council member has a updated version of the budget amendment. And it was the titles of the accounts. So the account codes and the dollar amounts are the same. There was a couple of errors in the titles of the accounts.
Okay. Council, is there any item that needs to be pulled? And that's items 1 through 6.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. Should I
go ahead and pull it for formality since we discussed it.
Number 4.
Yeah. So I'll pull item 4.
So entertain a motion for 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 to be acted upon in one motion.
That's a move.
Second.
That's Councilman Miller. Second was Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, I.
That is 5-0. So item 4 is basically is a Scrivener's error. So did you have any questions about it specifically?
No questions.
No questions about it.
No questions.
Entertain the motion to approve that item.
So move.
Second.
Franklin and Miller. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, I.
That passes 5-0. Item 7 is consider adoption of resolution number 24-121R, the City Council, City of Red Oak. The City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, approving the votes to cast to elect directors for the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the year 2025. Want to give us background?
So this is the business board for the appraisal district. So this is not the guys who sit in there and determine what your appraised value is supposed to be or that you complain to. This is the guys that actually run the organization. So who we have nominated was Danny McElroy, and she was previously on there, kind of took over the spot that John Knapp held, that previously Phil Lynch held. And that was who we nominated. However, she has gotten double the amount of votes necessary to be elected to that board. So we do have another guest with us here, who would like to come and talk to you, to try to get you to pass along your votes to him where they will make a difference instead of just adding to someone that won't make a difference. So David Hurst is here. And if you have any questions of him, he's been around Red Oak and Midlothian for a long time. We've known him forever. But I'll let him give his spiel.
Good evening. My name is David Hurst. I reside in Midlothian at 2205 Somerset. Thank you for allowing me to come here and speak to you this evening. As Mr. Fuller explained, I've only been sitting on that board now for a little bit over a year. In fact, when you guys came and stole John Knight from the Midlothian community to bring him over here, I got nominated to fulfill his term. Last year, we're going through an odd time. Normally this is a 3-year appointment, but the legislation just changed the makeup of the appraisal district board substantially this last year. So starting, you may have recalled, even in the last May elections, there were 3 now at-large seats on a board that previously was 5 of members appointed essentially by the taxing entities nominations. Now there are 3 additional publicly nominated seats. And we are all in a sort of a weird state right now because everyone sitting on that board is in there for a 1-year term, possibly a 2, because it's going to start cycling so that as we have gone from a 5 board member to a 9 board member organization, they're trying to stagger the elections that will come up. So I may very well be before you again in another year, provided I'm successful this year. But let me tell you, I've really enjoyed serving on that board. I have been very active in Midlothian where I live in leadership positions. I've served on our EDC board for 6 years. I was the chairman of that board for 2 years of my 6 years, been very involved in many things in that town and love Ellis County deeply. When the school district asked me to fill this position last year, I really didn't understand what the appraisal district board did, or really even why it was important. But I'll tell you, it's very important now. The appraisal district runs all the appraisals that happen all throughout the county. So every business and every home in this county is assigned a value by the appraisers. And our board runs the chief appraiser. We hire and fire her. We are her. It's Kathy Roderick is the chief appraiser right now. But our sole job is to administrate how that organization works. We've gone through some trying times. A couple of years ago, there was just a tremendous amount of protest because appraised values went up tremendously. The organization was overwhelmed and managed to get through it, and things have settled down. But I think the most important thing I want you to understand is because the board makeup has changed. And Kathy Roderick has let us all know that she's going to retire in the next 18 months to 24 months. And one of the most important decisions this board's going to make in the next year or two is going to be her replacement. We've been really fortunate to have someone of her caliber to run that organization, but it's going to be a very critical role as we move forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but otherwise I just wanted to introduce myself to you, tell you I'd be really humbled if you'd consider casting your votes my way. Ms. McElroy was a bit of an overachiever this year and got out there and got a lot of votes. And I'm trying to be, as John Knight says it, I'm trying to be the tallest midget so I can still get back on the board this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sort of wonder why anybody wants to get on that board, why the property tax has been going up.
So I'll entertain is there any discussion that needs to, thank you, sir. Any discussion?
I don't have any.
No questions.
I'll entertain a motion to cast all 152 through adoption of resolution number 24-121R for David Hurst. I'll entertain that motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Good one, I.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, I.
Smith, aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, sir, for coming. It means a lot when people stand up and talk to us and give us some background about what your lifestyle is. And so we're excited for you. Hope you are able to secure enough to be in that position. I hope she didn't take them all. She'll be a one-person board. So thank you. Item 8. Consider adoption resolution number 24-122R. Of the City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, accepting a voluntary annexation petition and authorizing the setting of a date, time, place for one public hearing on the contemplated annexation, annex area described and depicted in Exhibit A, attached here to, and made a part hereof for all purposes by the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing and directing the city staff to publish notice of the hearing with the institution of the annexation proceedings by approval of the annexation ordinance to occur at a regular city council session and to prepare a service plan for that annexation area and provide an effective date.
And Mayor, Mayor and Council, if you want, you can consider both those resolutions, both of which are annexing property. If Ms. Emma or Mr. Fuller would like to tell us what those are. And because this is just setting the hearing date for those, and they'll both be considered at that same evening. And so there's no reason that you have to read that one. So
So we're
if
looking
Emma
to,
can give us both.
Sure.
So,
Parcels.
so this first one on your screen here, that is a property that EDC recently purchased and has opted to voluntarily annex into the city. And then the other one, Emma, if you can go to that one, is another developer who will be bringing something forward for zoning, I believe in January or February. But they have actually got the 322 acres here.
put it on the Willis maps.
Yeah, if you got it. And this one long story short is both are voluntary annexations for development purposes. One is the EDC, the other is from individual property owners, but it is all being purchased under contract by the same buyer for development. And then he will be bringing that forward for zoning in either January or February. And that would be down to the south there.
So help orient with the road. Where are we?
So. I don't
So
know.
we're way far south. We're down by Rocket.
Right.
Is that down there by?
Just east of Rock.
Okay, is that that trailer park, the one that's?
Yep, it
right,
is.
Okay.
Yep.
So is that by the Hargrove property?
It is.
Okay. That's the one that's gonna have all
Yep,
those lakes.
that one's Hargrove's there.
Okay. So down. Yeah, okay. Everybody understand where that is?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, consider adoption of resolution 24-122R and 24-123R.
So moved.
Second. Lightfoot. Smith, any questions?
I have none.
Okay, so that's gonna be, vote wise. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Good one,
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
It passes 5-0, and that'll be set up on our January meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Item 10. Consider adoption of resolution number 24-124R, City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the master fee schedule by amending chapter 11.00 utility fees by amending section 11.004 garbage collection charges, subsection A and subsection B to establish new rates, and by revising plating fees, zoning fees, and adding a new fee to chapter 5.00 building and development fees, section 5.002 B, C, and D, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing an effective date.
So got a couple of different things going on. One is Emma will probably be able to help you with the ZBOA fees and the planning fees and so forth. And then Jared will be able to discuss the waste disposal fees for you. Emma, if you want to.
So we currently do not have good evening, Mayor and Council. We currently do not have a zoning board of adjustment fee schedule. So staff actually in our last week's ZBOA meeting, we recommended to them that the fee be a total of $750. And that constitutes of our fee, the $250 for our fee, and $500 for the city attorney's fee every time they come out to the meeting. And the zoning board of adjustments did recommend an increase to $1,000 to account for possible fee increases in the future. And we did also get legal advice that variances in ZBOA cases, they're typically and traditionally they should be few in between. So they did recommend that it be increased to $1,000, and that is for per parcel, and that's for the city council to approve.
And that is comparable to other cities in the area.
So we looked at other we looked at other cities, and the fees range from about $200 to $3,000.
Okay.
What is this fee for? This is if someone petitions the board for a variance, so they'll
Correct.
pay this fee as part of that petition process?
Yes, just like we have fees for zonings and
Right.
plat application.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mayor and council, that fee would also, there's a right to appeal to the CBA when there's a building official or zoning official makes an interpretation of the ordinance, they can appeal to the board to have that case heard too. But and there's a bunch of notice requirements that have to be met. So it gets expensive in terms of notice to the public and then notice to property owners within the area surrounding where the variance is requested.
And thank you for that one. And Jared?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This portion of the item is specifically for residential waste collection. So with our contract with CWD, they are subject to an annual increase based on things like fuel costs and labor costs, things like that. So this year, we are looking at an increase of about 2.67% or 44 cents for a standard household, and then an increase of 3.13% or 20 cents for each additional cart to a residential home. There was also an increase to commercial, but we don't set those rates. That's contracted directly from CWD to the individual company.
1643, that takes care of the two carts we've got now.
Yeah, that's your residential trash and recycling included in that rate, as well as our administrative fee, taxes, everything. That's
So
all inclusive.
somebody has extra trash, and it's gonna cost them about 6.5.
Yeah, so for each additional you can get more recycling carts for free, but if you wanted additional trash carts, it'd be an extra $6.38 per cart.
Okay, thank you.
Jared, do you know what the increase was last year?
I don't off the top of my head, but it's been pretty comparable in the 30 to 40 cent range each year.
So, I know this isn't part of it.
No, you're
but I was
fine.
gonna ask, 'cause it's about CWD. So, the way they handle their own bins and break it all, do they have a replacement?
They do. So if your bin is broken, all you have to do is call that number on the side of the bin if it still exists.
Yeah.
And they will come out and bring a new bin. The only time that they charge is if the bin caught on
missing.
fire.
I've broken two and they've replaced them.
Yeah.
The very next trash time they came back running and I had to do.
But
bins,
if
so.
you,
I didn't set any on fire,
I'm
though.
not breaking
So-
them. It's-
Yeah.
It's when they're done dumping it, they,
Yeah,
I
so
think one of them, I think might have been the lid broke, like
Yeah.
cracked open, but they brought me a new one the very next time.
yeah, so no charge to the resident for that. The only time there's a charge to the resident is if it happens every week, or you manage to set it on fire.
okay. All right, so.
Both of which are possible.
Both are possible. Yeah, absolutely.
Do they store hay in them? All right, entertain that motion to adopt resolution 24-124R.
Well, one second, Mr. Mayor, I do have a
Well-
couple of questions.
Okay,
I wanted to hear both of staff before I comment, but for the Board of Adjustments, is this $7.50 per item?
per parcel.
So per item, no matter what they're,
Per parcel.
per parcel?
Yes,
So they can come from multiple
then it's
items
that
under the
fee
one
per
750?
person.
I think we should revisit that, because that's,
Wait,
No, no, no.
No, it's.
Just clarifying that.
So one parcel would be the $1,000, and then if they come for 3 parcels, then it'd be $3,000.
okay, I got you. Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Mhm.
You're considering a parcel, the building?
No, we're actually
the lot.
considering that, yeah, the
The lot,
lot,
the
but then
lot.
there's some properties that aren't platted, so they're not legal lot of record, so we just call them a parcel.
So if they bring 4 issues, it's only $1,000.
Correct,
It's on the
on
same
one
lot.
lot.
It's on the same line.
Yeah, I kind of would encourage us to revisit that, but I mean, I support staff decision. That's getting away kind of cheap for Board of Adjustments case. Because keep in mind, to go before the board, you are out of ordinance. So you are choosing, or due to your yard and slope, you are choosing to be out of ordinance. You can possibly comply. So I would encourage staff, if they are going to go against code, I can see the $1,000 up front, but each additional item should be maybe $250 or something along those lines. That's comparable. But that's my only feedback. But other than that, I do support staff.
So,
So you're recommending that if I came to the board and I needed a variance on the side yard and rear yard, that I pay $1,000 and then $250 for an additional
Variance,
issue
correct.
on that lot?
Correct, because those will be ruled on separately. So the board could actually agree with the front yard,
They
but
could
disagree
grant
with the rear. Correct,
Or grant them both or deny them?
correct.
And each item would have its own administrative costs that are comparable. I mean, given that ratio. Assuming
Correct.
that was right.
Correct. So in essence, it would be two different variances, so I would encourage staff to consider that.
So are you making that a motion adjustment?
That's my motion to adjust it based on the number of variances that's coming on one parcel.
So your motion to is approve as amended to $250 for each additional variance on the same parcel.
Correct.
And just so I'm clear, you're coming up with $250, because if they're saying 1,000 is 250 administrative costs for any letters and
Correct.
notices, 750 up to 750 for any legal costs that may be involved with that. You're saying an additional 250 covers
The
the
additional
additional
variances,
work, and that's
correct,
enough to cover the additional work that you think will be involved in an additional variance,
correct.
because it's mostly administrative costs, I guess.
So remember, the last time we had a Board of Adjustments was 15 years ago, so.
Things have changed.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fine, okay, so I still will entertain the adoption of the resolution 24-124 with set of adjustments to add $250 per.
Additional variance request on.
on-
I want to hear you out.
Parcel.
Well, I was just gonna tell you, I think you made the motion.
Yeah, I made
Need
it.
a second.
Yeah, I just need a second.
Second.
No.
Good thing we added an extra fee for those legal costs.
Yeah. Okay, second by Lightfoot. Motion by Franklin.
Yep.
Any other discussion? And you're clear.
I'm clear.
Okay. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, no.
All right, that is 4-1 passes.
You got better king.
You don't want to get people that want there, that's okay.
Item 11. Conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 24-048, City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, granting to Waste Management of Texas the non-exclusive right to use and occupy right-of-ways within the city of Red Oak, Texas for operation of solid waste disposal, describing conditions governing the use of the public right-of-way, providing for compensation thereof, providing an effective date and the terms of said franchise, providing for written acceptance of this franchise, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to public, and providing for severability. Mr. Benford.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So if you remember, we brought this item up last month at the regular meeting, but we needed to hold a public hearing. So it's the same as we discussed last month. It is for waste management, supplying multi-stream recycling and commercial solid waste for a singular business in the city of Red Oak for Compass Data Centers for a level of service that is not provided by our current provider. This franchise, what it does is 10% of their commercial sales comes back to the city of Red Oak as a franchise fee for the allowance and the use of our right-of-ways and roadways, because they're heavy trucks, they cause damage, wear and tear on our roads. So we get 10% of their commercial sales to help compensate for that. And then our Harmon Charter dictates that we hold a public hearing. So this is a public hearing for that.
So we'll entertain or opening that public hearing at 7:39. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this? One more second.
No, I don't believe anyone has signed up to speak on this item here.
Okay. 30 seconds, that's right. So, is this specifically for that one user?
Yes,
Okay, so if any other user needed that same service, they'd have to
we
come
would
back
need to
again?
modify our agreement.
Okay, and entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Lightfoot,
Second.
Franklin. Council, is there any questions on this?
No question.
Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-048.
I think we need to close the public hearing first.
Well, I did.
That's what we just did.
In the same motion, okay? So two motions in one.
Two motions in one, move to close the public hearing and approve the motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. See y'all. Thank you. Okay,
Franklin,
We need a second.
I'll second,
Oh, I
sorry.
thought we got a
I
second.
think we're-
I got
Take your motion
I
to
got
Lightfoot.
Lightfoot and Franklin
Yep.
to close the public hearing. I just didn't hold the vote.
Right.
Okay.
So we're,
So-
so Bob was combining it for you.
Okay,
we
yes. So
confused
now to
ourselves.
approve it.
Ready?
Here,
Yep.
I'll state this.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Someone say so moved. So as a result of agenda item 11, the motion would be to close the public hearing and approve agenda item 11.
So moved.
Second.
There you go. Same people.
Now you can vote. I got to take.
Okay, now vote.
Franklin, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
Politics is hard.
It's our first meeting. It's okay.
That's right. All right, that passes 5-0. Item 12, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 24-050, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances as heretofore amended by removing from the list of certain permitted uses for highway-oriented district to add said uses to allowed by special use permit as set forth in Exhibit A, removing B of Chapter 14 zoning attachment 14A1, appendix tables and charts, table 6.1, permitted uses, 14A attachment 1:1-1:9, and use summary highway oriented as set forth in Exhibit B, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date, ZC 2424, requested by the City of Red Oak. Dr. Emma. I don't know how do you read that?
Mayor and council,
Ask me
this,
how you read it, how do you write it?
this is a request from city staff to amend the zoning ordinance so that certain uses would require a specific use permit. Uses that are currently permitted by right would require a specific use permit. And these uses include a barber shop, church, bank savings, loan or credit union facility, laundry, dry cleaning plant, retail with pickup facilities, office, physician, dentist, or other health practitioners, personnel service, photo developing or photo printing, and used merchandise store and antiques, indoor only. So these uses are they're appropriate in the highway-oriented zoning district. It's just that if they're located or placed in an inappropriate way along the 35 corridor, then it could, it wouldn't fit well. Our I-35 corridor vision plan recommends that high-quality retail, office, restaurant types uses be permitted along I-35. So these uses, we're not restricting them. It's just we're stating that they'd have to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, review with staff and make sure that they're strategically located along I-35. And the highway-oriented zoning district is mainly along the I-35 corridor. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval.
Was that unanimous?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 7:44. So anybody sign up for this? Wait 30 seconds.
Zone district business supply. Highway. They chose.
Does this come?
State show.
become effective?
Well, wait, so Dr. we're just adding these as restricted uses.
As uses that would require a specific use permit instead of being permitted by right. So basically, they won't be able to just go
Got
and
it,
pull out,
okay.
pull a
So-
building permit.
Not that everyone has advantage of this, but within the ordinance, there's a table with P, S, and X. X says it can't be done, P says it can be done by right. S is saying it can be done by specific use permit. We're moving these to S.
Correct.
Got it.
That's correct.
Dr. Emma,
Yes.
may I see the ordinance, proposed ordinance that you just had posted, please?
Sure. Did you want to see the table or the
No, the
agenda? item?
verbiage. You
Okay.
had like a statement, a kind of depth. Okay, so help me, it's been a long day for me, so help me understand. Could you scroll up, please? So staff is asking a request that's required to certain uses along the highway. Okay, and these are, you said, currently permitted by right. So we're being asked for properties that are currently permitted by right for those homeowners or business owners to now come in and go under a SUP for something that's permitted by right?
If they're not already existing.
Yeah, not a,
They're already existing, then
their grandfather.
they're already there, non-conforming use. What the fear is we have limited frontage along I-35 and Old Road. And particularly along I-35. Not that we don't want doctors' offices, not that we don't want banks, not that we don't want a lot of these things, but what we're trying to do is reserve for those types of businesses that will produce sales tax. It's not saying that we don't think any banks or doctors should be allowed out there. It's just we need to be able to protect our frontage to ensure that we have enough space for those sales tax producing businesses to be out there through the years.
So this doesn't eliminate them completely, it just.
No, it just makes them come to you to ensure that we don't get 10 of them in a row. And now we don't have any space left for a restaurant or any space left for a movie theater or a retailer.
So we'll close this public hearing, entertain that at 7:47.
So moved.
Second. Franklin. Goodwin, you want to do your fancy thing? Okay, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot,
Smith, aye.
It's too complimentary. I know.
well, I think we're still in the middle of discussing that. one,
Yeah.
too.
All right, so is there any other question that need to be happened?
Yeah, I'm trying to process because, could I see that list again? I guess what I struggle with is with I-35 and granted, I do agree with some of these, but for example, if I'm a church and essentially tax exempt, that could possibly, and someone goes in to purchase that land with the idea to develop a church, they're now coming to us under an SUP, so now we're dictating where worship centers could be. I think that's my biggest challenge.
I think generally speaking, state law prohibits that. However, as Bob, if you want to explain how we did it downtown before, if it is in a retail complex, then we do have the ability to do that.
Yeah, what Councilman Franklin's referring to is RLUIPA, which is federal legislation. And generally, churches have a right to go in wherever they want to go, much like schools. However, there is some case law now under RLUIPA that a city has a right to protect its retail corridors and not allow churches in places that have retail type zoning for the reasons that Mr. Fuller has talked about today, that while churches obviously form a very important function in our community, they should not take up all of its economic benefit by having access necessarily without some review of the city's retail corridor. And so that has come into play in a couple of times where we've suggested that churches either go to the rear of the development, not necessarily the front of the development, because that has high commercial value in terms of retail input to the city. It's economic development, and a church shouldn't be used as a stopgap to use that space for non-income producing, and therefore not have us have the ability to protect our economic element of our community as well as take care of its spiritual needs. So it's by putting it in the SUP, we have that extra review to assist us in making sure that our hard commercial developments are not necessarily taken up with a non-income producing property. You may have a philosophical difference with that, but that's, I think, legally sustainable.
Sure. That I understand it, and it's more than just a moral compass here. It's, we just approved a parking lot on 35. That's, doesn't do not much justice, so, that's all I have for right now.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, one last thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm not opposed to the other uses I could live with. Is there a way to move this forward to remove church?
Make it in the motion. And Bob can change it.
That there, you could make a motion to approve and get a second, and then you could make a motion to amend, and then we can vote on the amendment, and then it would be as amended if you can carry the day on your revision. Or someone can make a motion to approve it, or you can make a motion to approve it with removing it, and if you get a second, you can put it to a vote.
Do I have any questions from my fellow council before I make my motion?
You
Perhaps
asking
I'm
to
overlooking.
remove the church from the SUP?
Correct.
Yes.
What would that mean for us?
Means church can go where they want to go and doesn't
They
have to
could go
answer.
in.
So they're already in by right.
Yes,
So they can.
they would
today-
remain by
So they
right.
could go up there and talk to what Muhammad and say, I want to be right beside Olive Garden,
Yes,
and we can.
yes. They would have the zoning necessary, and so if they could comply, they might have to go to the Board of Adjustment.
But, I mean, they could call Muhammad tomorrow and say, I want
Yeah.
that property right next to Olive Garden and go,
Well, you
sorry.
Pay your price and
I'll
and
pay
I'm
your
zoned to
I'll
do
pay
it.
your price and
Yes, sir.
I can
That's
go.
that's what that would mean.
we would lose out on.
Well, it wasn't in that particular one because that's a PD.
Yeah.
But if it was HO zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
so
idea.
the-
Same
Same
idea.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're saying the churches can't go where they want to go. I think we're just saying we want to review it before it gets approved. So I don't have an issue with it being an SUP. I mean, especially if there's no legal issue with it, because I don't know that we could tell them no in a lot of cases, it sounds like, but except in some very rare cases anyway.
There's two kinds of properties. There's undeveloped property, and then there's properties that currently have buildings, both of which would require an SUP. I don't know if it needs to be refined.
I don't have any problem with the thing as it's written. I mean, if there's a church involved, it can come before us. If it's justifiable, we can approve it. But,
That's the key word. If
Look at it.
it's justifiable.
I mean, I don't see, church got any more rights than say a bank or any other thing like that. We're trying to maintain our tax base. It's important. I mean, they've got, if they go out and buy the land and then they want to build a church there, they need to come by and talk to us about it because like I said, the rest of these, I don't think the church has got any more rights than the rest of them here, frankly.
Okay.
I'm with the whole idea that's a limited space, so I think them coming forward as well, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Making the presentation to say this is what we're wanting to do there. It doesn't make the decision already, just.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-050.
So move.
Second.
So that's Goodwin. And that's Lightfoot.
Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry. Smith.
And then before we vote on that, Councilman Franklin needs to make his amendment motion. Is that right, Bob?
Yes, sir. You desires to.
Well, it looks like it'll pass, so we can move forward.
Well, you never know, Mr. Franklin, you just never know until you vote.
So I move to make an amendment to exclude churches from the uses that, I missed my, posting up there, but, to remove church, go ahead, Bob, give me that.
It would be to remove church and related
Rectories.
uses and rectories from the list of special use permit.
That's my motion. So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
If it receives no second, then the motion fails. So it's.
Do you want to vote on it, Councilman Franklin? So I'll second it. We can do the vote. It's up to you.
No, it's okay. I respect everyone's, opinion on this matter, so it's okay if it dies on the floor. I don't have an issue with that.
So not receiving a second, then the motion is as originally stated,
For approval as written
as written.
of 24-050.
Yes, sir.
Those in favor?
Franklin, no.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes
4-1.
4-1. Item 13, discussion and possible action regarding the permit fees for the sale of mixed beverages with food and beverage certificate holders only in the city of Red Oak, Texas.
So this is just on for discussion. There's no huge hurry to rush out and approve something here because we're not allowed to charge a fee for 2 years anyway, by state statute. But since it is fresh on everyone's mind, we wanted to at least give you some of the information so that you know what we can look at as we move forward into the future. So, if you look at what the state does, it allows you to charge 50% of what the maximum fee that state charges, with the exception of the first 2 years, which you can't charge initially. Looking at what some of the other cities in the area, Waxahachie and Ennis are both charging, once you get past that first period, they're charging $750 for a 2-year permit, because you have a 2-year permit with no charge. You have a 2-year permit that you can charge, and then you have 1-year permits after that. So Waxahachie and Ennis are doing $750 for a 2-year permit, $375 for a 1-year permit. And then Midlothian is just doing exactly what the state says, half of what the state permit is.
So
So
what are we doing to justify the charges? What's the city doing?
we're reviewing whether they meet the zoning requirements and so forth. Just because you can do it with a restaurant doesn't mean that a restaurant fits in the zoning.
This is,
So there's
this is
ministry.
for booze, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Mixed
mixed beverage, food certificate holder.
So
there-
what are we doing, like I said,
So just like Walmart has to get us to sign off every year on their permit to sell off premises beer and wine. So what we have to do is we have to go get and say 300 feet from a school or 1,000 feet from a private school or 300 feet from a church, and we have to be able to send that stuff with them to the state so the state can look at it and say, yeah,
We sign off on the zoning, we sign off on the health permit for the underlying use. So all those administrative things, and every time they come in to renew that license, we have to go back out and verify all those things. Karen has to sign it, so it requires the other staff members to go ahead and verify all that information that she would sign off on to make sure they're in compliance with other local ordinances. If you ever see their application, they have to have check off for fire, there's check off for, I don't believe police, but there's a check off for the health officer, if they're serving food. The zoning administrator has to check off whether or not they're in compliance with the local zoning ordinance. So So each one of those departments has to perform a service in order to verify those things so that Ms. Stevens can sign off on the application.
They're doing that anyway for serving food, right?
Well, it's so specific for this. Yeah, we always watch what's going on with. the
Not on a
food.
yearly basis.
However, it's done on
Oh,
an
yeah.
annual basis. They'll have to send the health officer out to make sure that when she signs it, they're in compliance. So now I got.
It can be zero if you don't want to charge.
Hold on, well, I think just to follow up the question, so this is new work we have to do that we don't do today, that we only have to do because of the alcohol sales.
What new work?
That's what yeah,
What we
that's what
doing?
it sounds like you're asking.
Yeah,
And it's validation for
We
their
did not
stuff.
have this before.
you have certain things before, but now you've got to have an extra inspection.
There's other permits that exist.
There's
but-
other,
So it's additional work over what we normally do. We normally have a health officer, we normally have a fire marshal, we normally have building
You're
official.
doing that, we're doing that already if you're serving food. My point is, and we are adding, and they're already serving booze there, but it's just it's a big administrative nightmare. I mean, my point is, why are we?
What is your point?
What
I
are we
don't
popping
understand what
for?
your
Well,
point.
what are we doing? And they're already serving beer, they're serving food, and we're checking them for this, checking for that. I just question, what are we charging them for? Why are we taxing them?
You think it should be
Well,
free?
I'm saying we are. I'm saying you can.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, we're
But
asking,
that's
we're
what we're
asking to
doing.
charge them for, you know. I
Ju-
mean,
But
just
you're
like-
doing an extra inspection, you're doing extra work over what you normally.
That's
do.
what I wanted to verify. It was-
I don't,
it's
I mean,
more-
if they're serving booze and wine,
You're getting a health inspection once a year already.
okay.
Well, they-
Some, you don't always get a fire inspection on a
Then
yearly
if they're
basis.
already-
Sometimes it's biannually. But you're going out and getting code to ensure that they're within their code for zoning, that they're 300 feet from this, that they're 500 feet from that. So just like you are with
Just-
Walmart.
They're serving beer and wine there.
You ask, so I'm gonna
Some
tell
of them
you.
are.
No.
So now,
Unless they already have
if you are
So we're doing it.
serving.
We're
if
doing
you're
the same thing
serving-
right now. We charge them anything.
You're serving booze, then the requirements for the departments are gonna be different. So
No, they're
now,
already serving booze, Bob.
no, they're
Yeah.
serving beer and wine, they're
Beer and
not
wine.
serving spirits. That's what this is different.
Well,
Uh,
the private club aspect of it, I guess. I don't know what I don't know what our responsibilities are for that.
None of these are gonna be private club. Why does the state charge more?
Well, they can.
Because there's more to having spirits than having beer and wine.
I think that's what Ben's asking is there more and what is the more?
If you charge them a dime or you charge them nothing, I don't care. But you ask a question
I'm
and
asking
I'm
the
telling
question,
you,
yeah. And
so
we're already
that's
serving
the
beer and wine.
answer.
So
But we have to do
this
these
is
things.
just a
but even if they're
discussion
serving it,
because we're not taking action.
We have to do.
So you have to run again in 2 years to have any input on your discussion.
No, you can come down to citizens comment.
That's right.
I'll come up and dribble it
Well,
All right.
so
Some cities don't charge.
let me take this in another way. So Dallas, it looks like they're charging the maximum they can charge. They're charging
Absolutely.
half of the state's fee in every category, but just a couple of them, right?
Mhm.
Midlothian, or sorry, was this Ennis at the end? Yeah, Ennis is doing very little, right, of the percentage that they're like, allowed up to 50% of the maximum.
No check.
Check, I mean, that's the first one to pay the beer in the world.
But because, I mean, if there is additional administrative oversight, additional staff time that we're not doing today, it's not accounted for today, we should be able to recoup those costs of those fees. I don't know what that amount is. Is it closer to Ennis or is it closer to Dallas? I mean, that's the question. So, I mean, I know we're not deciding today, but that's, I'd be leaning towards, we don't need to make a profit on these fees. They just need to be enough to cover our administrative and our staff time.
Technically,
We're doing our
it's-
best, we're doing our
technic-
best to try to get as many restaurants and things like that in here. And we've gone to tremendous efforts trying to get, to cut down the administrative costs of these people.
Yeah, but we don't need to lose money on the
And
permitting
we wanna
process.
Stop them again, hey, we got them. So I just quite here.
But you also,
You've
the
obviously
staff
never
that
run
has
a bar.
to go out. Your staff who has to go out and do the inspection, the staff who have to make sure they're compliant. You want them to get a raise here and there, so.
That's just a question, I mean,
All right,
go for it, folks.
we're not
We're not deciding
deciding.
today.
We're
It's
not
just,
deciding
if it
tonight.
costs us more, we should be sure we recoup our costs and don't lose money on the permits. That's my thought. We don't need to make money on it. We shouldn't lose money on it.
Sure.
Can we have staff come up and say, for their application, here's about how many hours it runs us?
Well, I mean,
So,
Can we
maybe
go
get
that
that
far?
analysis in when we're ready to make the decision.
Yeah,
in 2 years.
Factor that in 2 years from now.
In 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
so just make sure we have this on the agenda in
2
2
years.
years.
Oh, don't
Terms will
worry.
be
we'll-
up by then.
All right. Chief Blanton, please come clear us all up.
Question about inspection.
Free beer and wine for everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, and council. I just wanted to let you know, we had a 25% increase in call volume in November compared to that of 2023. With the 31, we had a 25% increase in call volume in November of 24 compared to November of 23, which is also we had 31% overlapping calls for service. Just with our growth, I took that and I'm projecting that we're going to have about 350 more calls in 2024 than we did in 2023. And to put that in comparison to 2020, it's just under 1,000 more calls we will have in 2024 compared. So it's just, part of our growing city, kind of like what we're all discussing here, the growth and those sort of things. It's obviously increasing, in calls for service for the fire department, as well as I'm sure the police department. Also wanted to highlight, we had the Christmas in Red Oak this week, and our firefighters association, along with on-duty crews, came up and gave away s'mores. They gave away a little over 200 s'mores and over 150 cups of hot cocoa. So although the weather was kind of crummy, it sounds like they had a really good turnout and a lot of good participation. So I don't have anything additional unless you have any questions regarding the monthly report.
No question.
Thank you very much. Any comment about them not being able to sit on the couch?
Mayor, Council, just a couple of things to highlight. The temporary animal shelter is fully online. We've been able to transition the dogs from the what was the full-time shelter to the temporary shelter. Everything seems to be going okay with that. So we're moved in there and we're doing our best to make that temporary situation work. We currently have 2 vacancies left. I hope to be able to issue a conditional offer tomorrow, which will drop us down to 1 vacancy. So we're trending in the right direction with getting all our positions filled. I did want to highlight a trend that we've been watching for a while between 2023 and this time in 2024. Our accidents have increased about 8%, and our injury rates with regards to accidents have increased by 30.21%. And we're anticipating with a lot of the traffic and the road construction that's going to occur, we're going to continue to see that to trend up. So we're working on some strategies trying to lower those numbers a little more. Our statistics are showing us trending up with regards to the number of accidents. And again, the number of injury accidents have increased about 30%. So we want to do what we can to try and lower those numbers. So not all accidents result in injuries, but the ones that are, they're up what I would consider to be significantly. And so we're going to try and come up with a strategy to address that. But I just wanted the council to be aware of those numbers as we continue to move forward with a lot of the construction that's going to go on. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the monthly report.
Chief, I have a question. Old Villa and across from McDonald's, apparently that red light, it appears to be a lot of accidents going on there. Is there a consistent reason for this? Is it the people driving, which obviously is the people driving, but is there something from how that's?
So again, I'd have to go back and run all the particular numbers on that intersection. We do know that that's one of our high density, on our heat map, one of our high density areas for accidents. We don't know if it's attributed to the length of the light and people being frustrated and trying to beat the lights. That's what we believe it to be. But I'd have to go in and review it accident by accident to come up with what the contributing factors are. But a lot of it is faulty evasive action and speed unsafe for road conditions. So that's that's generally what that area produces with regard to causational factors.
It's all because of that pothole right there in front of McDonald's there.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still there.
Is that,
Almost cracked the rim the other day.
another question, high traffic time, probably the evening. It's almost a gridlock now starting to be there.
Yeah, and again, those are all controlled off the lights that TxDOT sets. And as we start to see these kind of numbers, we can provide them those numbers and have them look at our heat and our density maps to evaluate and see if they need to adjust timing on lights and things of that nature. But a lot of it just has to do with the amount of traffic that comes through those intersections on a daily basis, like you said, at rush hours. Morning and afternoon are both. And it's hard for us to get in there and actually do any kind of enforcement because of just the sheer volume of vehicles. So from a traffic enforcement standpoint, that's the strategies that we're looking at, is trying to introduce some type of saturation patrols to have a higher presence there to maybe calm some of that traffic, which is something that we're working on. We haven't come up with a really good solution for that at this point until we finish compiling and going through the statistical data. But I wanted you to be aware that we are trending up, and I don't see that getting any better without some kind of a strategy in place because of the number of road construction projects that we're going to have, especially on and along the 35, Villa Road corridor.
I know the one intersection, 342 and Ovilla Road, right there by that exit. I think because it's a 1-lane turn, 1 lane going straight. People are trying to beat that straight lane by getting in the turn lane and then cutting over.
Yeah,
There's
so
been a bunch of wrecks.
yeah, we have a lot of turn from wrong lanes
Yes.
there that happen quite frequently. And again, that's all part of the strategy to try to address why we're seeing the increases that we are, and we're using our heat map to try and address those issues. We got to come up with a solid strategy with the time of day and the number of people.
The new highway's gonna have.
Oh, yeah, that'll fix that, but we're looking at 2 or 3 years on that probably now.
Yeah,
Well, the long-term solution is fantastic.
Yeah.
The interim issue is how do we address it and maintain it and try to reduce risk to citizens.
yeah, your data definitely shows speed-related accidents are quite a bit down. It's the intersection accidents.
Yeah.
That are causing problems.
So Chief, is there anything we can do in the interim to support your strategy?
When I come up with a solid strategy, I will come back to council and ask you to help support it. I think the biggest thing for us is just trying to see if we can introduce some type of saturation patrol. Our goal has always been, once we got fully staffed, was to stand up a traffic unit to be able to address these type of problems. And as we get closer to coming full staff, then that's my strategy, is to put that traffic unit in place to really address these high density hazardous violation areas.
Like do officer controlled intersections at certain times? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about saturation patrols and having people dedicated to solely traffic
Violation.
enforcement. Yeah, hazardous violations.
Hazardous, got it. Okay.
Yeah, cause I guess last week you were writing tickets there, 342 in Oville, and people were loving it.
Well,
How many
Maybe the
people have
first time
act-
you've heard that, but.
I know.
probably true.
Well, I mean, that's.
95% of them were saying, thank you.
That's a location where we get a lot of complaints that come in. And so as those complaints come in about the traffic, we try to verify and validate the complaint against our numbers, and we're able to do that. So that's why we put people there. But we don't have dedicated staff to that. So we're having to pull those guys off of normal details or normal patrols to try and address those. So again, I just wanted you to be aware that we have some numbers that are trending up, and we're trying to address that. If you pay attention to any of the data that we're submitting. So I just wanted you to know that it's on our radar and we're trying to address it.
Thank you.
Thanks for indulging us on that.
Mayor and council, I'll do a quick report for Alexa. She's out tonight. So for marketing and communications, as mentioned before, we had the Christmas in Red Oak event this last weekend. Had to move indoors, the weather. And so, staff did the best they could with using the government center, helped out quite a bit. We had a good attendance for the indoor activities. Reminder that filming for the State of the City starts this week. And so additional information, scripts, will be coming out to you via email, soon. Also a reminder, Ellis County and Red Oak ISD's live Toys for Tots donation is tomorrow night from 5 to 8 at Red Oak High School. And then, on a positive note, the department received 3 additional marketing awards at the Texas Events and Festivals Conference. So be happy to attempt to answer any communications or marketing questions if you have them.
Just one question. Did they change the filming from the 17th?
So my understanding is there's actually 2 dates. So Thursday and then next Tuesday.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hart?
Mayor, Council, just want to highlight from the report that we just issued the CO for the Take 5 oil change at the corner of Hickory and Ovilla, as well as release the permit for the new 7-Eleven that was zoned recently at Cole and Ovilla. So that Take 5 and 7 Brew were all zoned, permitted, and built in about a year. So hopefully the same thing for the 7-Eleven. But that depends on when they get started. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Ashley?
Good evening. For the finance report, a couple of highlights. So in general, the revenues collected are between approximately 8 and 12% in each of the funds. The goal is to have it right now around that 16%, but all of it's going to come in the form of property tax here, collected in December and February. So the expenses in general range between the budget expenditures range between 9 and 15%, and the goal is to have it under that 16% right now. So we are underneath that little benchmark. The sales tax were increased this month by about just under 12% compared to the prior year-to-date totals from the prior year. The building permits revenues are at about 28% of budgeted revenues at the end of the month. So those are doing well. And then the water sales revenues that were billed were actually increased at about 100% compared to the same time in the previous year. And then as far as some of the items per department, the finance department is really focusing this month on trying to wrap up some of our longer term projects. And that includes our water rate studies, the budget document, and preparing for our auditors. They will be here in January to perform their field work. So the finance team is working hard on that. We're also recruiting for one open budget analyst position. The utility billing is going to be starting a little bit of a policy review, and that's to include review of accounts that have high balances and take a look at our payment arrangement policy to ensure that it fits our needs. And then lastly, the court is actually in the middle of putting together a youth diversion plan. This is required by courts to be put in place by January 1st, I believe. And this youth diversion plan is designed to help prevent formal criminal prosecution for youth for certain types of Class C misdemeanors. The plan incorporates early intervention and diversion plans. That's it. Any questions? All right.
No questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mayor and council, just to take up, there was, in the legislature, the last legislative session, they did away with the ability to use Class C misdemeanor youth violations as an enhancement or a later violation on your criminal history. And as part of that, the youth diversion program was the compromise that was reached to try to get that issue addressed as well, because many people found themselves getting that enhancement because something they had done when they were minor. So the legislature has fixed that, and this is part of that program.
What are some examples of Class C misdemeanors?
Well, they took away like the youth, but traffic accidents, attempted assault, minor theft, those kind of things, alcohol would be another one that was common, but if you did get convicted and did have to pay a fine, it's a conviction, and those convictions were used as an enhancement for much more serious crimes. And it seemed to, I guess, hurt many of our young people for something that they may have done as an experiment or a one-off thing and then get in trouble with it later.
20 years later, they're facing some other charge and it adds to, oh, okay. Later in their adulthood though.
Ms. Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A quick update on recruitment. This last month, we did add one new hire for PD. It slows down a little bit around the holidays as people don't want to make any changes around the holidays. So I'll see that increase probably in January. We currently have 8 positions posted for applicants on our city website. And then I wanted to give you a quick reminder of our annual Employee Appreciation Luncheon and Service Awards. That will be on Friday, December 20th at 11:30 at the Municipal Center. If you're available to join us, we would love to have you. And then if you have any questions about my monthly report.
So what's our total employees number?
I think we're sitting around 150. I can get you the accurate number.
Mayor, council. Give a couple updates. We started receiving all of our servers and hardware that we had ordered. All our data backup appliances came on pallets. We've been working with the fire department and police department on renovations and new buildings and doing network install in the temporary animal control building, which I don't want to do again. And rolled out a new policy on prohibited software that we had to push out through federal law and state law. So that was for certain websites we can't go to anymore. TikTok.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, as you may notice Elise is out as well tonight. So I did not get an update from her, but I will tell you that the maker space, as far as the walls and the doors and everything, is complete. We had the electrician run the electricity in the walls, and the data cabling is complete as well. Furniture has been moved into that area in the library. And so we're just basically waiting for the equipment, the 3D printer, sewing machine, those types of supplies. So as we get further along, we plan to have a opening event for the maker space. We've reached out to Google to see how they would like to partner in that event as well. So we'll keep you guys updated when that occurs.
Sounds good. Mr. Kelly.
Mayor, council, just want to give you all a couple of things that are highlighted in the, highlight these items in the report. January the 11th is our Catch a Trout event, and everybody's welcome to come out to that if you'd like to drop by from 8 to 10 on that Saturday morning. Typically we try to do rain or shine, but it'll be a little bit weather dependent. Some of those dates during the winter is hard to do because it may be below freezing or right at freezing. So we'll try to adjust that if that does happen, but would like to see anybody that wants to come out. It's always fun to watch the kids fish, and they're having a good time. Texas Parks and Wildlife will drop off about 1,700 fish sometime the day or so before the event, and that way they'll be active and hungry enough to eat, give them time to settle in. Also, this Friday coming up on December the 13th, we're working with teaming with the library. We're going to present we have a movie in the park, the Polar Express. Santa will also be making a visit from the North Pole. For anybody who would like to bring their camera out and their kids and get some photos with Santa, it's a good opportunity for that. In the parks, we are complete with the lighting out on the trails at the new Oaks Park. The Oaks Trail Park is very well lit. So you can go from end to end on that 3/4 of a mile walking trail, and you're really not going to be in much darkness. It's a laid out, well-designed park. I'm real happy that that is one of our parks. Does have a natural area in the center and then a few small water bodies on the west side. So I feel like as people learn where that park is at, it's going to be very popular. And then the last thing I want to highlight was the Red Oak Senior Citizen Center is about 95% complete. It is complete enough that we were able to allow the Lions to come in and have their pancake breakfast with Santa on Saturday. And the seniors will meet there again this week. They're working now to get all their stuff back in the building and set up. And would love to have anybody that wants to come by and see it, just let me know and we can drop by over there and walk you through the building.
Probably a little young to go there, right?
Your median age, you're good. So, but if there's any other questions or any questions about the report or anything going on, we'd love to answer them.
Fishing events in January, Ben. If you need any compliments, wait till then.
Mr. Benford.
I don't need this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. Just give you a quick update. We are blowing and going on projects. We have 3 currently under construction, 1 out for bid, and 4 more under design. So we are rapidly expanding our infrastructure, and we greatly appreciate y'all's contribution to that. Our Pierce Street Sewer Project, they're mobilized, excavations underway. Methodist Pump Station generator, it's under contract, and we're reviewing submittals now. And then East Ovilla Road relocates. That's one of our major projects, all the way from Ryan to Cole. Huge project, water, wastewater, streets, everything. That is out for bid. That'll be, we'll open that bid next week and then award that in January. And I wanted to highlight that we filled 355 potholes last month. So we can slow down, and that way the roads aren't so great and people slow down too. So we can put those back if you would like. But our team is enjoying the new equipment that they have, and they're using it to the fullest to make our infrastructure as great as possible. Yes, sir.
Your predecessor talked about a new layers you put over highways y'all, what do you see about that? And would it work on, say, something like Steinbeck to keep the thing from breaking down?
Yeah, we have it. We've been using it. It's a lot to bring out there. And the crews are still getting used to it, but they're really enjoying it. And it's great for doing about half the road at a time, doing large scale patching, things like that. I wouldn't do a full width mill and overlay, but large sections. We used it on Steinbeck Court, Crump Circle, used a little bit on Tom Driver before that was just recently repaved. And then it's on their schedule to move onto the far southeast side of town. There's a couple sections of roadway where we don't want to have a contractor come out to do, 500 foot of road. So we're gonna take care of that, because it would cost more to mobilize than actually have the crew work. But it's been a great machine so far.
Good enough. Mr. Mayor, and City Councilman, we're fortunate tonight. I've always thought that one of the main concerns in our young folks were not knowing enough about civics, about the way a government's run. And we're fortunate enough tonight to have a young lady who is part of a government project, has come here to witness government in action. And I told her, warned her beforehand, that there's probably a lot of frivolity and cutting up on the stage. I was just wondering if she'd like to come forth and meet the council and have anything to say.
I wish you would have told us that from the beginning.
Warned us to be on our best behavior.
I'd have been a better example.
Well, he knew it, and it didn't calm him down.
Would you get up and introduce yourself, please? Yeah, be fine. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Haley Jackson, and I came here for my government project.
Speak up, would you please?
My name is Haley Jackson, and I came here for my government project, and I'd like to thank you all for letting me be here and hear you guys speak.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, whatever we did tonight, just do the opposite. She'll be.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, Councilman Goodwin's been on the board for, how many years?
20 years.
Well,
20 years. And this is the first night he talked just because you were here.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I think he told Davy Crockett, don't change anything till I get.
So thank you for being here. Okay, so the time is 8:30 and we will go into executive session. Do we anticipate any?
I don't think so.
Okay. So the time's 8:30. You good? John, you good? All right.
I'm
The
good.
time is 9:02. I'll entertain this motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilman Franklin, Goodwin, those in favor?
Good one, I.
Miller, I.
And that's 3-0.
I guess what concerns me is they say that.
Okay, good. I had to get my leftovers.
The council is.
That's what I'm
I told my wife I got catfish and then bring her home and eat it.
I'm not the only one.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, but is that coming from them or is that coming from, we don't have the budget to do these things because council has established here. the budget. So if there's things that they want to do, then they need to put it in front of staff, council, and say, here's what we want to do. It's not necessarily that LSS is telling them no, LSS is telling them no, because here's how much money we have, we can't do it.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.
Good night. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a New Year.
Yeah, to my understanding, it is that.
And they don't know how it
Instead of
got
trains,
fixed. I don't know how far it got.
This is